Nothing like an intro to wake you up early in the morning. What up, y'all? What's good, everybody? What is good? Y'all already know who it be. It is your boys, Rel and King from Glow Yard. Welcoming all our members to another special edition of the members only. We got a good one for y'all today, man. I feel like it's been a while, man. I'm rusty. I don't know what buttons to push. I don't know what to say, man. It's crazy, man. This little vacation got me a little lazy, man. But hey, we here, guys. Like I said, we definitely appreciate you guys. We do this for you guys, who the fans and the supporters of the channel who support the channel in a special way. We definitely appreciate y'all. And of course, y'all know how we do this, man. We already got a special guest for you guys. A lot of you guys already know who this man is. He's definitely one of the biggest NBA YouTubers out there right now, man. It was definitely a blessing to get this man on, man. We definitely appreciate him hopping on. I know me and King watch all his videos, especially his video on the Mavericks, man. I got it down in the description box below, guys. Go watch that video on him discussing the Dallas Mavericks, man, and what pretty much what's happened to them this season. He's been spot on everything he said, man. So let's go ahead and introduce our man. We got that boy Wilson Sy in the building, man. We got him in the building. What's good, Wilson? What's good, man?
How you guys doing today? Appreciate y'all for having me, and very excited to talk NBA basketball. It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir, man. It's our pleasure, man.
It's my pleasure as well, but I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna switch it up. We should have the guest in the middle.
Oh, okay. You know, I did think about that. You're right. We need to start doing that. You're right. Yeah, we rookies out here. But nah, man, like I said, man, we definitely appreciate you hopping on, man. Like I said, we follow your content, been following it for a while. I know it's you and a few other NBA YouTubers, man. Y'all be spot on with a lot of the things that y'all talk about. It's like you can tell you guys actually watch the games and stuff like that, man, and actually do your homework before you kind of like speak. Unlike a ESPN or something like that, you know what I mean? Like a lot of them guys just speak and don't really just know what the heck they're talking about. So it's always great to have a guy like you, man, who can actually give a better perspective of a team, man, and get a better understanding of a team. And actually, we know, you've been watching it, man. And also, you're a student of the game too, man. Like this, by everything that you post, like your old school takes and stuff like that, man. Like I know me and King talk about old school basketball all the time, man. And it's great to hear guys like you kind of bring light to that stuff, man. So we definitely appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I was literally just watching his NBA Finals mistakes video before we got on.
Yeah, I didn't see that one yet.
I'm checking out about Josh Howard and all, calling the timeout. I forgot about that. Yeah, I was like, man, I forgot about that. No six.
That hurt, man. That one hurt. It didn't happen in 06, right, bro, of all years.
Yeah. But I guess first and foremost, Wilson, let us know, how you got involved in your content. What's your background? You want us to know about you and basketball in general. And just the floor is yours.
So growing up, I will always struggle with schoolwork. I always had a troubling time remembering work, and I studied for hours, but I always failed exams. But then I got into the NBA in the early 2000s, and when I watch NBA games, I can somehow remember every play, every player, every team. I know scores from 15 years ago, even some Mavs games that I can remember like yesterday, and because I can remember those, I was really into the game like that. Wow. And I'm thinking maybe I'm just really bad with schoolwork and other work, but I'm pretty good with remembering all this basketball stuff and knowledge. So it really motivated me to just create content, and just because I'm passionate about it, just be a YouTuber and share my knowledge to the world as a diehard basketball fan, and being a student of the game, knowing the NBA history and everything else. I just love to share my knowledge and get people together and just share what I'm super passionate about. And NBA is always going to be one of my most passionate things. One of the things I can remember first and foremost, compared to everything else. I could study other stuff for school topics for 5 hours and maybe still get a 70 on the exam. But NBA knowledge, I'm pretty confident. So that's how I got into basketball.
Nice.
Yeah, man. How long you been doing your YouTube channel?
Around 5 years. I would say I started late 2017, and I'm still trying to just keep at it and just creating new content, talk about new topics no one's ever talked about, and just continue sharing my knowledge about all aspects of the game.
So I always had a question about that too, man, because you always coming up with new content. And I know as a content creator, it kind of gets hard. You kind of get it's like, I'm just not into it, or I can't really think of anything. You kind of get those brain farts or whatever. How do you come up with content outside of what's going on in the current NBA at the time?
just think about creative topics and kind of combined it together too, like the greatest of like which decade. Oh, okay, like a lot of people already have those videos out. How about like narrowing down to certain teams, like, oh, the greatest, let's say the greatest point guard of the 90s, like the top 10 or most underrated. When there's video
Right.
topics, those headlines, underrated, overrated, oh, let's go by decades now, oh, let's go by teams now, and we can just break it down little by little. There's always going to be unique topics that people want to hear about too. And obviously there's those current topics and all those like crazy thumbnails and clickbait stuff. I'm not really into all that stuff. People just talking nonsense and not providing real information. So for my
ESPN.
content, I like to be
Sorry.
historical as possible and just give some insights and cater to all the different audience members. I don't want to be just some of the newer guys that like watch basketball growing up in the 2000s and this era. I want to be able to talk to guys that watched the games in the 80s and 90s as well, old school
Sure.
basketball, to get perspective from both sides and not just ignore the past eras, which I find super disrespectful from people my age as well. That's lack of knowledge to me. Like, if you want to be well-rounded in the game, appreciate all eras and see how the game has grown. Don't just talk about guys today shooting threes and whatnot. The game's much more than that, and the game's also going to keep changing in the future. Who knows what defenses will be like 10, 15 years from now and whatnot.
Right.
So the game is very unpredictable. No one thought like 10 years ago the amount of three-point shooting today and what the league has become. So 10 years later, who knows?
Well, you're obviously knowledgeable, and you say you get a bunch of knowledge from, I guess, a bunch of other folks from different generations that watch basketball. Where else do you say you get most of your knowledge from? Do you have like a certain book you like? Like I have the NBA encyclopedia. Do you have a certain site you like going
cheap,
to, or
huh?
how do you figure it out?
I like to go on Basketball Reference and then go through some games on YouTube, watch the NBA Finals or black and white, look through some Will Chamberlain stuff, and just try to remember certain stats and whatnot, like the MVP races, like what it was like back then. So back then, a lot of the players voted, and there was a bunch of random no-namers that got a couple first-place votes. They would get more scrutinized today, like guys in the 70s who are not even top 10 players, and they get 3 votes. Like Kareem Jabbar should have been unanimous in like 71 and all that. So there's a lot of ridiculous, even more ridiculous takes that happened back in the day if there was social media. So it's just very interesting. And I watched a lot of ESPN Classic growing up, just games from the 80s, Magic and Bird.
This ESPN Classic.
And it gave me a lot of goosebumps. And I remember the NBA on NBC when I was really little, like the intro from Mark Albert.
Yeah.
Talking about the Lakers, nothing can beat that. That's like classic NBA basketball. And a lot of the older generation always tells me after watching Michael Jordan, after MJ retired, they haven't watched the NBA since. And I'm always wondering why, because I'm trying to relate to that. MJ actually brought that aura. People actually had jitters. And right now the game, because players, they don't play every game and whatnot, and they're making a lot of money, 60-something games a year is just not going to cut it. That's why the NBA has lost a lot of fan base. So that's why I like to talk about old school basketball too and try to elevate the game. And right now, I don't feel the game is elevating, especially in our country. It's kind of peaked in America, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So everybody's catered. The game is catered internationally. But for the U.S., there's a lot more entertainments out there outside of watching basketball. There's like Netflix and all those other TV shows you can watch. But back then, like the 98 finals, the ratings was insane. Basketball was really it back then. And I feel like nobody talks about the great players today, how people talked about like Michael Jordan back then and how they felt. Right now, basketball is just like a hobby for some, and it's not really that much of a passion compared to guys who's watched in the 90s that were diehard fans.
Well, I'll tell you, from me personally, I talk to Rel all the time. Michael Jordan was just superhuman. I feel like that's the difference between now and back then. Even with like a Kobe Bryant, a Shaquille O'Neal, anybody that's been a LeBron, anybody that's been, I guess, after or post Michael Jordan, they haven't had that same aura. Because when I watched the Michael Jordan game, I remember I felt as a kid like this guy couldn't lose. Like it was a surprise when Michael Jordan lost, because it was just like, and I don't have that same feeling. Like basketball isn't as much. I feel like you know, boxing, you always got a chance because they have a 7-game series. You know, usually the best team wins. But I never like had a doubt in my mind watching Michael Jordan. Once he got to that point of winning championships, that he was going to lose. Like even in games where he went 6 games, I think the series like against Indiana and all that was like a 7-game series. That was like rare to see Michael Jordan have a chance to lose in a 7-game series, but he just had that aura about him where it was like he just expected him. He was basketball at that point. So I think that's the difference. But I mean, I guess we could segue that over into the superstar we have right now as far as Luka Doncic. What's your personal feelings, Wilson, as far as Luka? Like, how do you feel about him? What do you feel? I guess his peak, his I guess valley. What can be his low point? With just in general.
Be honest, Wilson. You don't gotta be
from the outside
PC,
looking
man.
in. What's your
from the
opinion?
outside
what
looking
do
in?
you think he can get better at? What do you think he's amazing at? And what do you feel like he may have a chance or a hard time, I should say, getting better at?
He's a spectacular player, in my opinion. He's one of the top 3 players you want to build around for the next 10 years, given his upside and skill. Being so polished at 24 years old, there's never been a prospect like him. He understands the game of basketball and super patient with it, and he's got all the talent and skills in the world. But there's also a lot of growing up to do for Luka. Being 24 years old, this has not been a great season for him from a team percentage standpoint, not winning as many games and getting very angry with the refs, like lashing out. And he also has got to be serious, work on his 82-game conditioning, because we see in the fourth quarter on defense, a lot of times he doesn't even like to move and rotate. And also, he's got to just be better with his attitude and trying to be a good leader. When he wins, you see him smiling and clapping and happy, acting like a 5-year-old kid is getting free ice cream. But when he loses, like, he's very angry, like it gets really bad and ugly, and he's got to be better. And he's also got to learn how to play off the ball at points, because he does dominate the ball a little too much, and he kills a lot of shot clock when the offense is not really getting any good thing going. I don't believe Jason Kidd's that great of an offensive coach to really help Luka. And then if you guys got the guys that are not really playing defense, and Christian Wood's not happy with Jason Kidd, the whole team is not happy. They're just going to watch Luka just try to put on a show on offense. So if the offense is super limited with one man just handling the ball a lot of times, and their defense is not really going well and the rebounding's not well, the team, that's why they lost a lot of games this season. So this is a growing pain that Luka Doncic needs to be able to adapt. He needs to get his body right and just play 82 games, be fully healthy, eat right, and not get too relaxed in the summertime. He's played a lot of basketball even last season from Slovenia too, so he needs this break. This could be a good thing for Luka Doncic to get his body and his mind in the right place. He was dealing with some personal situations that we don't know too much about, so that's a big issue too. So there's a lot of things he can work on, definitely off the ball as well, and just play better defense. He's got to be better. If your best player on your team as a franchise guy, if they're not playing defense, then it's going to be super tough for all the other guys to follow your lead to play defense. Every all-time great who won multiple championships, they set the tone on both ends of the floor, like the MJs and Kobe's, Tim Duncans and LeBrons of the world. And if Luka Doncic, if he wants to take that next step, he's got some tools. Like, even though he's not the most athletic person, he can become smarter on D and kind of be like a free safety out there. Same way how Larry Bird plays. Yeah, he might not be a good one-on-one defender, but just understanding little details from J. Kidd and getting a couple good players around him that's also good on D, I think it will help him a lot. Dallas has a super busy offseason. We're not sure how well it's going to go, but it's going to be a tough one, and Mark Cuban has a lot of thinking about, but he should not think too much.
Wilson, listen, I swear it's like everything you saying, man. We've been saying this, man, this whole time. It's crazy. You 1,000,000% right. I have no arguments or anything you said, man. I'm just sitting there just shaking my head like, man, you nailing it, man. And I know as Mavs fans, man, we don't want to hear these things about Luka, man. I know everybody's like, yo, because he's so good. And we see what he's done to this franchise. You know, people don't want to criticize him. That's one of the issues we have here. And it's like, look, us saying what he needs to work on, we're not saying he's trash or we don't want him anymore. It's like, yo, we know you're good, but we know you can be better. And that's what we're expecting, you know what I mean, for a guy like him, because we know you can do it. It's like you said, it's getting conditioning. It's being given effort on defense. It's stop talking to the referees. You know, those are like the 3 things that we've been asking Luka to do. And it's like, but when we bring that up, people are like, oh, no, you hating on Luka. It's like, but that's like 3 simple things we're asking you to do. You know what I mean? That's part of your job as far as being an NBA player. It's like, being in condition. condition yourself to be prepared for 82 games. But also, too, like you said, I brought this up. One of the reasons why I wasn't too mad about us not going to the playoffs is because now Luka now has a real offseason now. He
Right.
hasn't had a real offseason probably since ever. Because remember his rookie year, he came in, he was coming from playing championship games overseas again. So he never really truly had a true offseason. So this is going to be the first time he's going to have a true offseason to where he can work on some of the things we just talked about. And hopefully, like you said, him being a smart kid, hopefully he goes in, man, with the mind frame of, okay, let me work on this, man, so I come into a better situation for next season. But I do got, man, listen, you already mentioned the name I was about to ask you, man. Being somebody from the outside looking in, what is your overall thoughts on Jason Kidd, man? Because I know the Mavs fans have their opinions, but what's your opinion on Jason Kidd, man?
In my opinion, Jason Kidd might stick around for one more year, but ultimately, I just don't see him being like the perfect fit as a head coach. He's a great assistant coach, good maybe X and O's guy. He was a great assistant for the Lakers when LeBron was playing the point guard position in the 2020 season with all the 3-and-Ds they have. And Jason Kidd, a lot of players love him. Like he's a player's guy type of guy, but as a head coach making some of the offensive decisions, I just don't think it went well. And when Dallas was struggling this year, they might as well play a lineup, start Christian Wood. Now, Jason Kidd and Christian Wood, their relationship's not good. So C. Wood might no longer be a Mav, but he's one of the best offensive players, even though his defense has been pretty poor. At least try to have him in the game. And Luka, like we know the defense is not as good as last season. Why not just like score? Like screw everything else. Just try to score and whatnot. And Jason Kidd, he hasn't been a great offensive coach. The offense has been worse without Jalen Brunson. Obviously is all Luka, and then Luka, Kyrie, your turn, my turn. They might get 70 points in the game, but they like those two combined, and Dallas might score 120. But if they're giving up 140 to Charlotte, that's not going to cut it. That's a big embarrassment. Like tanking teams that are trying to get the number one pick and they lose to them is just terrible. Jason Kidd last season, he was hot. He had his players playing physical defense like the Dorian Finney-Smith of the world, everybody rotating. And right now, like all the players and Kidd, there's a big disconnection. So if the players don't listen to him on D and their offense is going to be worse this season compared to last season, it's a lose-lose situation. And I just don't see the players getting along with Kidd's defense, and Dallas doesn't really have the defensive personnel. If they get a couple good defenders, I think it will still work with Kidd. But given the players they have, it's not going to work with Kidd. So there's going to be a lot of decisions to make, whether to get rid of Kidd or just add more defensive players to help Luka. Because Kidd's a great defensive coach, but offensively, some of these plays super questionable.
Yeah. Well, we feel like he should have different assistants. We don't have really anybody that's a hard-nosed X and O's guy on our on his coaching staff. But I want to ask you, we have a few. You talked about one polarizing player we have. We have a few of them. Christian Wood is one of them.
Yeah.
But two players I want to talk about: Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber.
Oh my God!
How do you feel?
Thank you, Wilson. Your reaction says it all.
Maxi Kleber being not only valuable pieces on his team, but valuable pieces, I should say, but also being mainly the two starters, the two guys they want to go to being their front court. How do you feel about that?
Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell has been an absolute travesty on the glass. They average 4 rebounds a game. You can't be the starting center. And Kyrie Irving's averaging more rebounds than them, like the games that they played. That's just totally unacceptable and not going to get it done. They get destroyed. They can't really rim protect out there like a Brook Lopez, and Luka Doncic being the best rebounder on the team at 6'7", having to do it all. You can't really blame Luka too much for being upset right now. Like Mark Cuban, why didn't he go after Jakob Poeltl, who wasted a season with the Toronto Raptors, not making the playoffs? He's going to be a free agent. Why not reach out to someone like him who can crash the boards? And Dallas, they lost, I believe, was it 13 games by 1 possession this season? And they got killed on the glass in those games. And because of their inability to rebound, think about if they have someone like Dennis Rodman on the team, how many games have Dallas won this season? They probably win like 50, probably be the 4 seed. Just keeping the boards alive. And if you can't crash the rebounds and you're allowing guys like PJ Washington to look like prime Will Chamberlain out there. That's an issue, and that's a disgrace. They're just not good rebounders. They're good role players off the bench, but being starters and playing the center position at the 5, there's guys who attack the basket. They get everything they want because there are no threats, and the other team see that and they smell blood. It's like easy buckets, like kind of like that meme about people posting Shams lunchtime. They see Dwight Powell or Maxi Kleber playing for Dallas lunchtime. It's trouble for Dallas.
We feel like we might have the worst front court in NBA history.
Jesus, man.
Last time you guys had a good center was Tyson Chandler, and let him go for what? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing twice.
And that's terrible too. And Tyson felt like he was betrayed and lied to. And after that, striking out on Dwight Howard, who Cuban probably never had a chance to get. Where's the decent center? They tried to sign DeAndre Jordan, who was way past his prime at that time, stealing rebounds away from Luka to make himself more relevant. That didn't work out. And they just failed to get a big ever since. It's really sad. And a lot of it, I blame the trade for Kristaps Porzingis, because Porzingis, this past season, he's balling out 23 and 9 rebounds. That's not bad, even though he's not that good of a defensive big and whatnot. He's not that good on the boards, being 7'3". That trade, getting rid of him for Dinwiddie, who was okay, it was basically the trade for Kyrie, pretty much, because even though Porzingis' contract was not good for Dallas and he wasn't living up to expectations, it's still 100 times better than Davis Bertans, who's on the bench, $17 million a year until 2025. He provides absolutely nothing. He might be the softest rebounder at 6'10" for his size. I'm not even sure if Bertans, if he played overseas in China, can average 8 rebounds a game.
Ooh, sound like us. Oh, man.
Hold on, King. I gotta do it, man. I gotta do it. Wilson, you've been out here with these shooting today. I like it, man. I like it.
Is he the worst contract in the NBA right now, Wilson?
He's one of the worst contracts alongside Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons.
Yep.
Ben Simmons is a mental thing for him. He's got to face his demons, and I'm not sure if he's willing to do that. But Davis Bertans, like that season with the Wizards, they shouldn't have given him that contract after he elected to sit out for the bubble, because he had his year. He put up his numbers. He was on a pretty bad team with like no John Wall and just like Bradley Beal, and he was doing those like step back threes from 30 feet, and he had a hot like 3 months, and he got his back secure and just chilled out afterwards. He's similar to the Duncan Robinsons and kind of the Ryan Andersons of the world, one-dimensional guys who can only shoot, but if they slack off in shooting and their skills is not working, they're pretty much useless, like absolutely useless. It's a nightmare.
You're right. Bertans did do it for 3 months, because then when we had the pandemic, and
he elected not to play, but the Wizards still pay him for 5 years.
Paid him, yep.
Dang, that is I didn't even think. I swear I didn't think about it like that. You are 100% right.
They made a mistake and threw away their mistake with us.
Yeah, exactly. And Dallas probably should have tried to avoid like getting Bertans, but Porzingis been balling out. Like him and Luka Doncic in the 2020 bubble, they were pretty hot. They had a pretty good stretch. Then Porzingis got hurt, I believe was game 3, and they ended up losing that series. But KP was balling out in the bubble too with Luka. He wasn't consistent in a lot of stretches, but when both of them were right, they were pretty good together. Dallas just rushed too much, and Mark Cuban was just way too impatient. If Dallas still had Porzingis right now, Doncic, and Brunson, if those 3 were still on the team together, they'd be competing, trying to come out of the West. And this year was a great opportunity given the Western Conference flaws, but they lost not 1 but 2, and it's just unfortunate, and possibly 3 depending on Kyrie's decision this offseason. So I pray for you guys on that.
I think the major issue with Porzingis is that Porzingis was in the wrong position, Wilson. I feel like Porzingis really was fit to be a number 3, because even right now, I know Porzingis has like numbers comparable to his All-Star season, but like he has Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma, and they still didn't sniff a playoff. True. So it's still the same thing, kind of like a Davis Bertans, where you're just showing off like that big 3 right there alone. You would think that's one of the best big 3s in the NBA. Like they're not huge names, but they should still be one of the best big 3s in the NBA. So for them to still not make the playoffs, those numbers are like fool's gold to me when I think about Kristaps Porzingis. I think he's still that guy. I think you still can't rely on him as far as defensively or really as far as his availability. I know he played a little bit more, but you still can't rely on that guy. And I still wouldn't pay him the money he's being paid right now, not as my number two.
Yeah.
But best of luck to him over in and over here in DC, close to me. So hopefully he's good. I know he's doing like summer camps and all now, bro, over here in DC. So shout out to him. But yeah, I think Spencer Dinwiddie for the team was the better of the two. It just sucks that we had to get Davis Bertans along with him. And the Jalen Brunson thing, we talk about that all the time. We talked before the season started. I picked the Mavericks to be a championship contender when they had Jalen Brunson. I thought the Christian Wood move would be big as far as helping them score on the inside. I knew we still had problems rebounding. I knew Christian Wood was a better rebounder than Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber. Yep. So I thought with Jalen Brunson, Luka, Spencer Dinwiddie, Christian Wood, we'd be, especially in the West this year, the way the West is open, we'd be competing for a championship. But then the whole Jalen Brunson news broke down, and that changed everything. And then Jason Kidd seemed to do a 180. Like he last year we talked about adjustments. That was the big thing with Jason Kidd. It seemed like he was adjusting. He had the coach mic'd up for the playoffs when he was coaching the team up as far as playing defense and all that stuff. And then this year it's like there's not really a game we can point to where we say Jason Kidd won us that game. And that's pretty hard. Usually you have games where you can say coaches won that game for us. Even like we had situations where Greg Popovich almost won a game against us, and we called it watching like he's going to drop a play and get a guy wide open, and he did that. I think it was what's the guy that's their star right now?
Wilden Johnson.
Johnson. He drew a play for him real quick. He made the bucket, and we're like, Jason Kidd, why can't you throw those plays? Why do you just go to a Luka step back three at the end of the game? Like, that makes no sense for you to draw up those. So I say all that to say this is just a wild season. It's a lot of stuff, blame to go around. I think somebody asked me recently, who gets the most of the blame? Do I blame Mark Cuban? Do I blame Jason Kidd, Nico, Luka, Kyrie? And it's like a little bit of blame goes to everybody. I want to put Jason Kidd towards the top because Jason Kidd did a horrible job, but I understand that the front office is giving him an excuse. But I also do understand that Luka Doncic plays a lot on ball because of the talent that's put around him. When you have guys like Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell beside you, you can't go off the ball and give the ball to those guys and ask them to do anything. Or Tim Hardaway Jr., like he hasn't learned to dribble the ball really, competently since I don't know how long he's been in the league now. 8 years, and his dad is Tim Hardaway Sr. So I don't understand it, but I do think it's on Nico right now in the front office and Mark Cuban as well, because he's basically admitted that he's still involved in it to get this team where it needs to be. That's the first step, to get guys, like you said, defenders around Luka Doncic, maybe a rebounder, things like that. And then I think Jason Kidd, like you said, gets his feet to the fire, because if you have the team around him and Jason Kidd can't perform, then maybe he gets fired or whatever. But I think next year is a huge year. I say all that to say, where do you see Luka Doncic? What's your
before you ask that? I was going to ask, to piggyback on what you just said, I was going to ask Wilson, in what pecking order do you give blame to the in the organization, like players and coaches, and who gets the blame? And go ahead.
I blame the office first, Nico Harrison and Mark Cuban, with just their handling of Jalen Brunson. Like that just screwed up the whole season over, combined with Luka dealing with personal issues, like a loss combined with another loss. It just exasperated the loss. So I blame those two first and foremost, and then I blame J. Kidd, and then in the bottom, I do blame Luka, probably 20%-ish. I don't blame Kyrie Irving, obviously, as much as the other guys, because he was pretty decent for Dallas. He played his own game, but they didn't address their weaknesses, their lack of rebounding and defense, and Kyrie wasn't really going to bring them that. So I absolutely blame management and the front office, Mark Cuban, for just putting this lousy, disastrous team together. Like one season from conference finals to not even make the play-in, that was just unacceptable too. And J. Kidd and the front office, there seems to be some internal tensions there because of how they handle one of the last games of the regular season on Slovenia night, and they still had a chance to win and get the play in if they win every game, even though it was a slim shot. They mathematically weren't eliminated, and to just go in the towel like that, it probably caught Jason Kidd off guard. Like, now can Jason Kidd trust management himself? He probably knows he might be in the hot seat, and if the team struggles, he's still there next season. He might get fired. If not, like this summer, I don't think he will, but in the middle of next season, if Dallas is still like a struggling team after like 40 games, he might be gone too. So it's not looking too well just for the whole team. And winning cures it all, but they got to get the right players and trying to win. In the front office, they got a super important decision this summer, like how they treat Luka Doncic. And Luka, he's probably one of the most like patient guys in terms of his attitude. And a lot of international players like the Giannis's of the world, like they don't really like to ask out. Dirk Nowitzki don't really like to ask out.
I
And
said
I
that
do
too.
think that Dirk Nowitzki, like he wants the team to do well and succeed. And if Dirk Nowitzki secretly maybe talks to Cuban, like get this man Luka some help, like I help you guys win a title, I done all this for you, like you're gonna help this guy to make this guy happy. I do think at some point Cuban might listen to a guy like Dirk Nowitzki. He's not going to listen to all the other role players, but Dirk, I think he'll listen to because he got him that championship. So if Nowitzki can put in a good word, that'll help Cuban a lot.
Yeah, that's basically I was going to ask you, getting to the Luka point. At the end of his contract, what's your feelings as far as, do you think he'll be a Dallas Mavericks still, as far as your opinion on the outside, or are you thinking that he'll look to walk?
It'll depend on what happens this offseason. In my opinion, 2 straight years of missing the playoffs would be absolutely disgusting. I do think he will get very impatient and snap and whatnot if he gets all those texts and like there's a mistrust between the organization and Luka too. Because Dallas, this is like their 1.5 strikes, I would say, like because of the situation of how they wanted to pull out Luka after the first quarter. He was definitely mad about that. If you're a superstar and a competitor, you want to play every game when you're healthy and when you still have a chance. And when for the organization to do that, just sit out when players are just trying to compete and win. You're a superstar talent. You want to be the best every night. That was just like a red flag, and that was just weak. And I'm sure like Luka feels some type of way with that organization. That was just an ugly look. Everyone should have just like played and just competed. There was just a game and a half left. And for that draft pick, like even though like Cuban didn't want the Knicks to get that draft pick, was it like the 10th or 11th pick? It can't be that big of a deal. It's not like they were getting a top 5 pick. So like if you're the 10th pick, not all of them are promising. So
hey, and we still owe the Knicks the pick. So like it haunts us as far as future assets. We can't trade future assets the way we want to because we still owe the Knicks to pick, even if we get outpicked this year.
Now we're only saying too with the Man of Me King were kind of with what you said, Wilson. We wanted to play it out, see what happens, right?
Yeah.
But now we're in the running to get that pick. We're saying we want to flip that pick. Flip that pick, and that way you get more assets. That way you can start making some moves to where you can move a Bertans and all these guys with these bad contracts off this team, man, to get better players around Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah. You guys might have to buy out Bertans at some point, like get him paid for like maybe 3-4 extra years, like cut his deal somehow, and he might end up on the list like by 2028. Players out the league for years still getting paid. I can see that list.
Hey, and you gonna make a video on that too, like you did the last time?
Yeah.
With Dang and all them.
I think next year becomes non-guaranteed. I think most of his money is no longer guaranteed after this upcoming season. So they may be fine. I think his contract, it may not be that bad. They're really trying to hold out for 2025, it seems like. Again, the Mavericks, like always, letting the powder get dry or whatever, sitting there and waiting for 2025, it looks like. But the big step is Kyrie. And it's good to hear that you said that people on the outside are recognizing that Kyrie did nothing wrong with the Mavericks. Like, he was actually a godsend for the Maverick team when he got over there. We'll see what happens in the offseason as far as him signing, how long that takes, if we can get other folks as far as that, because we're going to be over the cap either way. But, I mean.
Would you sign him to a 5-year deal?
That's a good one.
I would not want to give him the max because Kyrie's already 31 years old, so he's going to be 36 by the time his deal ends. And if he's still going to have these off-court distractions with his skills deteriorating, it's just going to haunt the team even more. So when last couple of years when Kyrie's other stars got hurt, like James Harden or Kevin Durant, where was Kyrie in a lot of those games? Just unavailable to play. So how can you rely on a guy like that if Luka's unavailable? And then Kyrie all of a sudden unavailable too. Like, he can't really step up when his team needs him to, when they're running tins. I just don't like that. We've seen it for too long the last couple of years, and every team Kyrie's been is just an ugly ending, just like not good relationship going on. And how many bridges is he going to burn with other teams too? You have to kind of look at that. If Kyrie decides to not stay with Dallas, he's gonna burn another bridge with a different team, like a fourth different team now. It's a big gamble, really big gamble. He's got to really play. And
Yeah.
this past season, at least Kyrie was healthy enough to play a lot of the games. He's played around like 60 games this season, which is good for his standards. So it wasn't too bad. He just got to like play basketball and just limit his off-court distractions. But who knows if he will like really do that? Kyrie's super unpredictable, and for the front office to want to kind of deal with that type of situation, they got to really tell it like it is. And they can't be scared to make tough decisions about Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, we say 3 years, Wilson. We say we're willing to give him 3 years.
If he's on a back 3 years, I say 3 years.
I'd take that. I'd give him and Christian Wood 3 years, truthfully. But
3 years, he'd still be like 33. Kyrie, I would say, have like 2 more elite years left. He's a great shooter, good handles, but he has a lot of like injuries in the past too, where he has missed a lot of times. A lot of times he also can't finish out the season properly because something's bothering him, his ankle or whatnot. And in today's NBA, up and down the court, like Kyrie, he tries to go through his defender. What if someone steps on his ankle? If Kyrie gets remotely hurt a little bit, he's not going to come back in the game. He doesn't really have a high pain tolerance from what I've seen over the years. Or if he gets elbowed in the face, Kyrie's probably going to be out for the whole game. That's just the way he is. Like with the injuries, he's not going to play through excruciating pain. Kyrie's never going to be like that. So 3-year contract sounds about right. He'll never be an 82-game guy. I say like 64 games max for Irving. Even 55 games is a blessing after the last couple years what we've seen. So 3 years sounds pretty reasonable. I don't see any other team trying to give him that. So Dallas might be his best situation.
And at that point, we can segue to another guy, Jaden Hardy. We got a guy, Jaden Hardy. At that point, maybe him and Kyrie will switch places after the 3rd year, where Jaden Hardy's that guy. What do you think about him?
He's promising. Thankfully, Dallas picked him, I believe in the 2nd round. He was like pretty good. But Jason Kidd hasn't really played him that much, only like 15 minutes a game. Good energy. He's probably going to be the one with Luka that's going to connect most because those are probably the team's 2 most like promising guys that are like most reliable to like stay on that team. You want to build around Luka. Jaden Hardy gives him like very good energy. His 9-point a game average, just solid and a hard worker. He's also fearless too when he plays. So Jason Kidd's got to like just keep playing him. Like why not?
Him, Josh Green. Go ahead, bro.
I was with you, man. Like I said, we see a guy like that. I know we talked about it because he's one of the players that me and King was talking about they should draft. And when they finally drafted him and what he did this year, you see why we were saying draft the kid. Like I said, he's gotten better throughout since like his senior year in high school. He's constantly gotten better, and Nico touched on that as far as why they drafted him. It said you could see his progression as he's getting better. The kid is a sponge. He soaks up everything you teach him. And you saw it towards the end of the season. And like I said, kid didn't play him, but like, spurts here, spurts there, whatever. And it's like, and every time he'll kind of like go off on a big game, and it's like, oh, we got to find him minutes. Then you'll sit him out again. He go off on another big game. Oh, we got to find him minutes. He sit him down again. He goes off again. Oh, we got to find him minutes. It's like, bro, you constantly saying that. Instead of giving this kid, we're not saying go out there and give him 30 minutes or whatever, right? But just give him a consistent like 10 to 12 minutes a game. Like you can cut back Reggie Bullock's minutes, man. He's not out there just giving you just unbelievable production out there to the point that you got to continue to keep giving him 30 minutes, right? You cut some of his minutes down and share some of that with the kid, man. Let the kid go out there and grow with the team, man. And then we can see what we have to the point like he builds on that this year. Then going into next year, man, the sky's the limit.
He's one of the best players in the team.
I do think it's very important for Kidd to play him at the start of the season a lot of minutes too, just so he can get his confidence going. Because if Kidd also like benches him and not plays him, his confidence gonna be destroyed. A lot of these young kids nowadays, they feel that they can play 25 minutes for almost every team out there. And when this team and this particular coach not playing them, they're not going to want to care so much. So there's a lot of young guys that might want to demand trades or be unhappy. So when he gets in the rhythm early in the season, is this going to give him more confidence and save the team a lot of struggles with their identity? I do feel like he's going to put in the work, and when he plays the good minutes in the beginning of the year, it's just going to set the team off in a good rhythm. You want to limit all the negativeness, and playing Hardy, pretty good option, I would say, to start off the year. And
Mhm.
guys like Reggie Bullock, I'm not sure how many years he has on his contract, but he is who he is at this point. He's
One
also
more.
one more year. So he's not really going to do anything super spectacular, not too much upside. And the Pals and Cleavers of the world, they are who they are. They're finished product also in the
Yep.
30s. So Dallas does have a lot of surprisingly older guys too. Like JaVale McGee, he's pretty much washed, I have to say. It was a disaster of a contract, like 2 more years, I believe, and total was like 17 mil. So that did not help at all.
Not at
If
all.
Dallas had the JaVale McGee of like the 2020, well, he was good with the Lakers, Dallas probably would have like be competing right now in the playoffs.
You know
Yeah.
what though, Wilson? The crazy part about it is, I would rather have JaVale out there than the White Powell and Master Cleveland.
Yeah, that's also true too. But JaVale has shown the ability to protect the rim and catch alley oops. A good lob threat under Luka Doncic too. But JaVale just like you guys
Can't
had
play
him
more than like 10
literally at
minutes.
the wrong time, the wrong year too.
Hmm.
Yep. It's like the same thing with DeAndre Jordan all over again.
When
Yeah.
JaVale
It was
was
too late.
when JaVale took it coast to coast in the Dallas Phoenix series, I believe was it game 2. That was that was when Cuban knew like, oh, let me sign this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or when Jason Kidd was like, "Oh, come over here and start."
Guaranteed, even though you just giving
Guaranteed
up
him
a
a
first,
starting position.
even though
Yeah.
you
Then
just give up a first round draft pick for Christian Wood.
man, you got any other questions, King?
No, man. Like Wilson's been on point. He's been basically answering all the questions just with his knowledge. So
All right, let's get into some of these some of the glow yard here, man.
let's
See what
do
they
it.
got. See what some of their questions is. I didn't
All
see
right,
any
guys. We're gonna
I
go
didn't
up
see
to
any
the
super
top.
chats.
Oh, they let's see WTM. All right, let's see. We got Logan in here. What up, Logan? He says, I think the Mavs will bounce back next year. I do as well.
I hope so.
Yeah, we can only hope. I mean, if they don't, I guess it's just
Oh, that's the
time
question I
repeating.
had.
Go ahead,
That's the question I had, King, for Wilson. Wilson, be honest. What is your overall opinion on Mark Cuban?
Ryan. That's a good. Lot of good.
I think he was a great owner back then when he was like willing to spend money, but his ego has gotten into the way, and he tries to run his basketball like
Mm-hmm.
team like he's running like his business, but he doesn't have the best basketball knowledge like he does with his business knowledge. Like he's a super successful entrepreneur, but with his basketball decisions, let the basketball people with the basketball brains handle that. Like he got rid of Steve Nash at the wrong timing possible. Like in 2004, Steve Nash was 30 years old. Yes, he did get cooked by Mike Bibby in the first round, but guess what happened? The NBA changed the rules for hand checking to limit
Yep.
defenses and cater towards offensive. And Nash and Nowitzki had the best offense from 2001 to 2004. Those two would have been incredible together, especially with the league changing. And Nowitzki was great at the half court offense, and he was great without Nash too. But those two could have been something even more special, maybe more than one championship together. So Cuban should have learned from his decision there, and Nash gave him a taste of his own medicine in 2005 when he cooked Derek Dampier. I remember that series like it was yesterday,
We
and
all
Cuban
do.
made that same mistake with Jalen Brunson. He's got to let the basketball people handle the decisions. Stop trying to land the big namers like he struck out on Dwight Howard. And he also got to be quiet about dissing other players. If he's saying like, oh, this guy, like, oh, Kobe Bryant, like, oh, the Lakers should amnesty him. He shouldn't do that with other players. Because what if they do want to play with someone that they like with Dallas, like an old teammate and whatnot, but they don't like Cuban because Cuban dissed them. So Cuban should like stay away from talking trash with other players and just step to the side. He could still cheer for the team and support them, but don't let the basketball people handle the basketball decisions.
I agree.
Man,
Let's see.
Them shots out here, man. Just like Balmer with the Clippers. What
Yeah.
did he do? He lets
do
those
like
guys
Balmer.
do their job, man.
Yeah, Ballmer lets the basketball people do their thing, and he kind of steps aside. He cheers. He's more of a fan like everybody else, but
Yeah.
Cuban's way too emotional, talking trash about a lot of other players. Like when he brought up, like, oh, European style, it's been better than
Yeah.
AAU. And he probably
Yep.
is correct on that. But when there's AAU guys like
Yep.
hearing that about Cuban, like, oh, I remember what he said when I was like 15 years old. Why would I want to play for this guy? Have you ever hear Steve Ballmer comment anything about a certain player? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Because Ballmer does actually stay in his lane, but Cuban sometimes steps outside of his lane and not for the best at times, unfortunately.
Wilson, you preaching today, bro.
Yeah.
You preaching today.
Let's see. I see some of them not WTMs. Make sure to hit us with WTM job. I'm gonna just click on some people to see. Richard says getting Nico some help has to be a good thing now. Can we get St. Jean a tutor maybe?
Yeah. St. Jean did a good job on DeMarcus Cousins when he was helping with Sacramento's, and St. Jean's a very passionate assistant coach. He did some great job at St. John's under Chris Mullin, and he's a super bright guy, probably going to be a head coach one day, and I know he puts in the work, and he works hard in a lot of the players for sure for his job.
Oh, is he drawing the X's and O's for Jason Kidd?
He could be. He was drawing a lot of X's and O's for like Chris Mullin at St. John's when he was
he's X and O. He's an X and O's guy.
Yeah, then we need.
He took Igor's spot.
We may need some better X's and O's, Wilson.
Yeah, and his work ethic, players should get inspired by it because he's always working in the gym or running up plays and drawing assignments and trying to figure out the other team. He's a big films guy too, so he studies a lot of film work and whatnot, and he was successful also with the 2020 Lakers when he was one of the assistants and the staff.
Johnny B, what up? He says, so the Mavs got fined $750K by the NBA for disrespecting the play-in, a.k.a. getting snitched off by J Mid. Then Cuban makes a mockery by donating another $750K. I think that pick going to the New York Knicks. No, I don't think they already made that was their whole disciplinary action, Johnny B, just doing the $750K. But Cuban's wild. That $1.5 million could have got us Goran Dragic after the buyout.
And they needed a guy like him too, because Luka respects a guy like Goran Dragic, another vet he's been friends with a lot, who knows the league very well, and he's able to kind of, I wouldn't say babysit, but hold Luka accountable, because Luka's gonna listen to him. Which one of these vets is Luka gonna listen to? Like JaVale McGee? I don't know about that one. So Dragic would have been perfect. He would have made Luka a lot happier too, and figure certain stuff out. So for the game struggles, Luka could talk to Goran Dragic one-on-one behind the scenes, but instead Luka's probably playing video games by himself and not thinking too much about ball after these losses.
Yeah.
That $750K it's just a slap in the wrist. It's nothing much. Imagine what David Stern would have done to Cuban.
Oh, he said that.
Oh, if David Stern was here, we would have lost the draft pick this year and still had to get a Knicks to pick next year.
Oh,
I felt that he'd have took it away from us this year. We would have been 2 years in a row. We'd not had our first round draft pick. We'd have been looking stupid. Liz says watching the playoffs made me realize how trash our team was. I already had an idea during the season, but damn, we are missing so many pieces. Hey,
yeah.
Wow, talking about we got Master Cleveland and Dwight Powell.
He also says missing the players hurt my soul right now.
Center.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Man, we have the worst.
Oh, imagine them trying to guard Prime Shaq. Prime Shaq would probably average 70.
Right. I believe that Aaron Williams is a better player than both of them. So
Aaron Williams from New Jersey?
Yep, and he couldn't defend Shaq. He was just out there with his light hair.
I take Aaron Williams over both of them combined right now.
I take him over both of those guys. That's how I feel. I feel like Maxie Cleveland, Dwight, they wouldn't start on any other team.
Hey, most folks watching this video, King, don't even know who Aaron Williams is. That's how crazy it is.
I wouldn't. They wouldn't start on any other team.
Aaron Williams, that's what I believe. Was he a center or power forward?
I think he played both of them. He was like a tweener. Yeah. He played center power forward.
He played with Jason Kidd for the New Jersey Nets.
Yeah. I would also take Eric Dampier and Sedana Dop over
Powell. We said that before over Powell and Kleber. Kleber's overrated, and I don't mean in a bad way. I mean he's an undrafted guy, so it's all love as far as where he is now. But he shouldn't be in the position of what he's doing right now. No way. Amen. He's not the savior on defense.
Amen.
Let's see. Richard says less people.
I think you missed that one. You didn't read that one.
Which one? This
one.
When
you just clicked off.
Oh, I didn't read the missing the playoffs. It's hurting my soul right now. I'm sorry.
Tough.
Richard says less people going to be on ESPN and Disney we trust.
Yeah, listen. What's your opinion about ESPN, man?
ESPN. I'm not really a big fan of ESPN. Their shows just get repetitive. All they want to talk about is Lakers, LeBron. And whenever they talk about Kyrie Irving, it's usually negative headlines about Kyrie. Yep. They don't really talk about the game like that. And they just do it for clicks. And it just gets plain and old. And that's why a lot of people, they don't listen to them as much. They're pretty repetitive and they got to renovate.
Listen, I mean, me and King talk about this all the time, man. I know you remember back in the days, man, when you used to rush home from school to watch ESPN, man, when the Stu Scotts and them guys were on there, man, and they actually had true insight on the games and stuff like that, man. You actually, you know, listen to their opinions on what was going on with the games. Like you said, nowadays, man, you got guys like Kendrick Perkins who just say whatever the heck they want, and they don't have any type of credible knowledge or anything about the game, man. He just say just crazy stuff. And I know I was listening to this video the other day, man. Dan Lebitard had Stephen A. Smith on this show, and he was talking about the fact that he blames Stephen A. and Skip Bayless for how the media is right now as far as how they cover sports. And of course, you know, Stephen A. got all offended and all that stuff. And when Dan Lebitard was explaining why he said it, he's right. It's like all it is like, let me just say the hottest take, and I don't care, you know, who it offends or if anybody disagrees. I'm gonna say this just to get people to kind of notice I'm here. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's not the way you're supposed to do it, because you have too many casual fans out here who listen to you guys and feel like what you're saying is scripture. They stick to what you're saying. It's like, well, Stephen A. Smith said, you know, Austin Reeves is the best player of all time. He's not though. Yes, he is. Like, well, you know, you listen to guys like that who say that stuff, man. It's disingenuous, man. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's the total opposite, Wilson, of what you were saying before when you said players had the right to like vote for MVPs and all. Now we have ridiculous media that can vote for MVP. So they have to find a comfortable medium, because when you got guys like Stephen A. Smith, you know, just voting for guys, or like Jalen Rose, I always bring that up. He said, what was it, last year, Ro? Was it the year before?
I think it was the year before.
We voted Kyrie first team All NBA, and it was like, what? Why would you do that?
I can't remember the one Kendrick Perkins did. He did crazy votes too, bro.
Yeah, like it's just like
he did. I think he did an MVP vote or something. He gave he gave somebody a vote or whatever.
Chris Paul, I believe, or something like that.
Something like that. I was just like,
it's just like, man, for real, this guy's that right there should have took away his vote.
Yeah.
When whoever was in charge of like the committee or whatever, if he made that vote, it should have been, well, we need to test you test you for your license to see if you actually deserve it or whatever. But go ahead.
And it's also a shame because there's a lot of people who I know just working other jobs, like nothing sports related, that know about the NBA way more than a lot of these ESPN people and their fans. And it's not even close. And there's got to be some way to test certain knowledge too. And Maria Taylor is a good reporter, but when she did not vote for Anthony Davis in 2020 for first, second, or third team All NBA, like people like actually get a vote, like seriously. And she's like, "Oh, I forgot about him." How do you forget? That's unacceptable.
But that's your Wilson. That's your job.
That makes the money.
You get paid to watch a game. That's it. You're not an everyday person like us, man. Where we got to go do a job and then come back and do this. Your main job is to watch the game. And on top of that, you have actual guys who look up stats and all that stuff for you, man. That you don't got to do that stuff yourself. Hey, can you pull up this stat from 1985 or whatever? They do that stuff for you. So that way you can you don't have to do as much, but your basic job, bro, is to watch the game and assess the game, bro. And they can't even do that. But all we hear is, oh, get these former players to do all this stuff, man. They know about the game. And it's like, but you listen to these guys, it's like, how much about the game do you actually know? You know what I'm saying?
Klay Thompson don't get paid because of these guys.
Yeah.
Stuff like that happens because they forgot about them. That's the type of, you can't forget about these guys when it's millions of dollars involved. And some of these guys don't get all the endorsements like other folks. You feel me? So when you get your millions of dollars, that's what you're going out there to get. And it's like, they stopped me from getting my millions. So
yeah, they
got to have consequences, like the referees. Same thing.
Yeah, but the NBA is usually super protective of the referees. They say they're going to do some like internal punishment not to be announced, but the NBA is super protective of how the refs are and whatnot. But given how poorly some refs could be in the NBA, if anybody watched college basketball, NBA refs are actually way better than college basketball. Like you see some college basketball games, they're disgraceful though. Like those refs, NBA refs actually like look like gods compared to them, even though it's not perfect and whatnot.
That's crazy.
And I do think that there's got to be a certain level of respect between the refs and players, because the NBA likes to hire a lot of new refs where the players are not comfortable with. And if a guy's like 10 years in the league and they see a ref like second year in and they're kind of like scared of or intimidated by how certain players talk, the players just gotta like run them over. Like back in the day, I feel like the referees, like you couldn't tolerate a Joey Crawford or a Steve Javie. Players actually scared of them. And now how like the players can talk to those refs like that, like imagine Luka trying to argue with Joey Crawford, he'd be thrown out like 10 times.
Well, You know, the thing is, me and Rel always talk about Wilson. We know too many of these referees' names now. Like that's a bad thing if we know the referees' names and say, "Oh, he's reffing or she's reffing," and that's probably going to be a bad game. But not only just that, but like, didn't they not too long ago get like a different what is it? I guess unionized or whatever. Didn't the referees not too long ago where they actually got more benefits and money and all from the NBA?
Oh yeah.
I mean, not to say they don't deserve it, they do, but that's probably kind of the process of why they don't take it as seriously. Because before, when they didn't get as much money for it and all, it was a grind. It was like, you know, I'm doing this for the love of it and all. I'm not really making that much off of it. It's more of a hobby. And then now it's just a job where they just come punch in and just leave. So I don't know.
The NBA players, King, back in the day.
It's kind of like everything, right? When you get more comfortable, kind of like Jason Kidd. When you give them the power, when you get more comfortable, some people don't grind more. I should say with the being comfortable. I should say they go and they do the opposite. They just go and sit and say, "I'm comfortable," and now I'm secure. So I don't know. Somewhere we got to figure out how to deal with the referees and things like that. But we'll see what the NBA does. I do believe in Adam Silver though. Adam Silver's the dude. Jody says this dude telling facts. Recency bias is killing the passion and history of the game. Amen.
Yeah, absolutely is.
Facts,
how many
Jody,
players how many players know how to draw like an entry pass to a big man to post up these days? You never see that anymore, and that's a big
problem. You watch enough of our games, Wilson. We don't have that.
No, I mean, like how great was it when like Jason Kidd drew a pass to Dirk Nowitzki, just turn around, fade away jumper, all net.
Right. Jason Terry wasn't even known as the greatest passer, and he could do it.
Yeah, he could do it, and he was cooler.
He could do it. We don't have Tim Hardaway Jr. You ask him to do it? No.
Hey, y'all talk about inbound passes. We only got one guy who could actually pass the ball inbounds.
No, we got a
Luka's only one. That's it.
Guys here.
And Jason Kidd with his suit.
Josh Green, Kyrie Irving.
Before we got Kyrie, who was the only guy who was throwing the ball in inbounds?
It was just Luka. But Josh Green can do it too, though. I trust Josh Green being out there on the side. But other than that, not Maxi Kleber.
And Frank Ntilikina is still too tentative and afraid. Like, good guy, probably, but his days in the league are probably done.
Yeah,
he just doesn't have it.
He couldn't. I realized his days in the league were done. I think Rel told me this one show when he couldn't get time on a national team.
Yeah.
When he couldn't get time on his national team, being that young and being an NBA player, and I'm like, you know, guys, the whole French national team is an NBA players. So if he couldn't get time on it, then Richard says, "Yeah, I like this guy too, Jody." Shout out to you, Wilson.
Yeah, follow Wilson, y'all. Please follow. I got his information down below, guys.
Yep, there you go. So I don't know who he is, but I'm paying attention. Going to have to check out. Please check it out, Jody. It's awesome. Awesome shows.
Yeah, we've been watching this show. We've watched this channel for years, man. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Frank says someone who has knowledge and speaks the truth we like. LOL. Absolutely. Lai says, "Hey, Wilson is cooking right now." Yep.
Lies.
Let's see. Got a bunch of stuff there. Richard said, "Any has always been my favorite guest, but this one is right there." They love you. They love you.
You got to bring Any back on too, man. I ain't talking to Any in a minute.
It has been a second since we've seen Any. What's up, Any? He probably watching on Twitter.
Any, what up, man?
Draymond, he said, I guess they asked him about Draymond. What do you think about that? It's been rumors about Draymond possibly joining the Mavericks and possibly been in the conversation to get him. What do you think about that?
He said he would uppercut Luka in practice, huh?
Yeah, Mark Cuban would get rid of him in a heartbeat because Cuban was like, if I take a chance to have Luka or my wife, I would take Luka. And Cuban won't tolerate anyone messing with Luka and his franchise guy. And I don't think Draymond will do that to a player who's better than him. He respects guys like Steph and Clay, knowing that better. Like Jordan Poole's a young guy, kind of trash talking, who has his flaws. Draymond, he's the vet and whatnot, more experienced guy. That's why Draymond did that to him. But I don't think he would ever like uppercut Luka. Not that I know of. Like he would do it to a young guy that's like misbehaving and whatnot. But a guy in Luka Doncic's magnitude, that would be awful. I doubt he'll get that far.
He'd uppercut a Theo Pinson. But how much do you think? I guess how much do you think Draymond commands in the open market this year, Wilson? I should ask you that. Like I know he's looking for a max from Golden State, but I don't think anybody. Maybe I don't know. Somebody may give him a max. You never know in the NBA. But how much would you give Draymond Green?
He'll probably get like a I would say like a 3-year, $60 million deal ish,
Yep,
possibly.
we said
That's what we were saying. 20 million. I'll give to him.
about 20. Yeah,
I can't give him more than 20 million.
yeah. Cut these dudes down to about 3, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going past 3.
He's already like he's gonna turn 33 next year, and he
Yep.
has no offense whatsoever in terms of scoring the ball. He doesn't have his explosiveness or rhythm anymore. And when you see a wide open lane where a lot of guys can easily dunk it, he just wants to pass it up. Like there's an open shot right there. He also hurts his team a lot, turning down a lot of shots because he doesn't have that physical abilities anymore. And he's not been a great 3-point shooter since KD joined Golden State. He still does good stuff with like setting screens and playing good defense, knowing how to rotate. But in a new system, he's got to go on like a contender with established guys already. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out, and he's not going to help those bad teams.
So you think he affects defenses still?
Yes.
Yeah. He knows
so?
he knows where to rotate, and he's got very good hands and very good IQ and awareness.
Uh-huh.
That's the question. That's what I want to know.
IQ, bro.
Why are we all talking about picking him up, King? For his defense.
For his defense.
Can you still affect the game on the defensive side? That's all I want to know.
He's a guy that coaches defense, though, bro.
Yeah.
That's why the thing I give Draymond Green credit for. Yep, a Tyson Chandler type guy, that's on the floor that's going to put guys in position and all that stuff. Yell at him and say, hey, and you're going to respect him for doing that. So I love Draymond for that. Go ahead.
If you guys like somehow get Draymond, would you think he would resurrect JaVale McGee back like from the dead in a way too? Because him and McGee got good chemistry drawing those lobs, and McGee finishes. Maybe he can get some of that energy back working with Draymond, because Draymond's also excellent like with another like lob threat, like a 5.
I believe he would. Kyrie kind of revitalized JaVale McGee a little bit when he got over here, so I don't see why Draymond Green wouldn't. I think it was just the fact that Jason Kidd just went away from JaVale McGee just completely. That was the issue all year, and like we didn't understand why, because JaVale did have his mistakes, and JaVale does do his, quote unquote Shaq in the fool moments. But like it's not, we don't understand the upside of Dwight Powell and a Maxi Kleber. So yeah, Maxi Kleber can shoot threes better than Draymond Green, and yeah, Dwight Powell can jump higher than Draymond Green. Even with all those deficiencies you said about Draymond Green, he'll still score more, grab more rebounds,
get more assists, over both
and more defense
combined.
Than over both of those guys probably combined, as Ralph said. So that shows you how set our front court is, and that's the issue with those guys starting.
But the bad thing about it, Wilson, these guys keep getting extensions.
Yep, i.e. Maxi Kleber. We got him for 3 more years.
We could have traded him for Lauri Markkanen.
Markkanen would have came.
Him and Luka would have been nasty together.
Man,
and Lauri wanted to come.
Lauri wanted to come.
They talk about people don't want to come to the Mavericks.
It was a year before he went to the Cavaliers. In fact, it was a year he went to the Cavaliers.
Yep.
They were talking about that Chicago wanted Maxi Kleber, but we didn't want to give up Maxi Kleber to get Lauri Markkanen.
Then last year, Maxi Kleber had the worst stretch of his career before the playoffs.
Yep, in 2 months.
Yep, he had. It might have been 3 months. He had one good series, I think, against Utah, where he came back to life a little bit in a couple games.
Yeah, like three good games.
And then was trash again the rest of the series. The rest of the playoffs. And then this year, after giving him, there was no. What do you feel about the contract extension? Do you think there was a need for the Mavericks to give him a contract extension before this year? Like, why not wait it out?
I do feel like Cuban does have a struggling time signing like just great players, and he's been striking out like in past years. So the bigger name guys. So he was like, oh, we know we already have this guy. Let's just sign him back. Like, and he also loves to have a lot of international guys to cater to like his fan base and help the NBA grow as a business. Like he's not just thinking about like a team winning standpoint. He's also thinking how he can also market his team. Why does Dallas have so many international guys? Remember that guy from India, Salamedri? He wasn't really a good NBA player. They could have easily have a guy that's way better than him that's gonna actually play and contribute, but Cuban also didn't want that because he also wants to market his team to like NBA India and whatnot. So he's thinking about it in other business ways for the league. But is that really helping his team like win more games? No, but Cuban's also been that type of guy too, thinking about other ways in terms of business, not his team winning.
The ways he thinks the guys he needs that can help him are too busy making mixtapes, Wilson. But Ben says Draymond and Luka on the same team will lead to Mavs ending the year with 100 techs. Yeah, trash can.
Right.
They gotta have a strong assistant coaching to calm them down and whatnot.
Yeah. We would probably need the old Jason Kidd for that.
Yeah.
But now this new Jason Kidd is totally different. Let's see. Richard says, but our high school St. Jean is above his head. He thinks 120 is a lot. I mean, 120 not a lot in this day and age, but our offense, I don't think as bad as St. Jean was at making X's and O's, Richard, at the end of the game and all, I will give him this credit. The offense was still a top 10 offense in the NBA. So if we had any type of defensive ability to do something, we probably wouldn't magnify St. Jean as much as we did.
Crash the boards and play defense. Like guys like Jakob 10 rebounds a game, one of the most underrated centers. He could help with that. Even guys like Nikola Vucevic, even though his defense is not good, he can help crash the glass for this
better
team.
Than our guys. Yep.
Wasn't everybody you keep naming is better than the White Pal and Massey Bleeber combined.
Man.
And this was Dragon Ball Z. You fuse those guys together, man. He'd be the weakest fighter of all time.
In today's day and age, basketball, like, yes, we love like the 3-point shot and all these perimeter guys, good point guards and good skills, but the basic fundamentals, you need size, you need centers. Like, you can shoot, like, you can pass the ball a little too much. Like Stan Van Gundy mentioned yesterday, you could shoot too much, but you can never rebound too much. That's the only stat. You cannot do too much. And how many championships Dennis Rodman won because of that?
Yep. Dennis, oh man, if we had Dennis Rodman right now, I love Dennis Rodman. He's one of my favorite players. But Ben says all Luka, no 3, much D. What the F you say to me starting lineup? Hey, I don't know. I want threes too though, Ben. They got to be able to shoot the 3 as well with the defense. We need just a bunch of guys. We just need skillful guys. Like we talk about all the time, Wilson. We don't have guys. If we had a guy like, I know we got Markieff Morris just this year, but if we had a Marcus Morris, you feel me? Just a guy that can dribble a little bit, make a couple shots, just put the ball down and do stuff.
Somebody who we don't have to wait. Like if the shot clock was going down, you're not looking for Luka to bail you out. Go get the bucket yourself, man.
Like this Dallas team has been so bad, like towards the latter part of the season. I do feel like a European team that's well balanced with chemistry can probably beat this Mavs team.
Yeah.
Even though this Mavs team is NBA talent, they've been dysfunctional.
Wilson, we lost to Charlotte twice. We lost to who else we lose to? We lost to Orlando twice.
Oh, that's bad.
Could you give the ball to Reggie Bullock across the line and tell him to bring the ball up the court to the other half court? Do you trust him if a guy's pressuring? No. How many guys on the Mavericks do you trust, Wilson, to bring the ball up across the half court line?
Great question.
Irving, Luka, and I guess Jaden Hardy. I don't even trust Frank Ntilikina, to be honest.
But they told us not to forget about Frank.
Hey, that's the first step, Nico.
Dennis Smith Jr. has been busting.
Yep. We'd love a Dennis Smith Jr. right now. The way he's playing right now on our team right now, Dennis Smith would have been awesome.
Yeah, he would have been a nice defensive wing next to Luka too.
He could have still been starting. It could have still been their backcourt. If he'd have played the same way he's playing right now, he'd have been fine. Jody said, "Go ahead, Wilson. I'm sorry."
Good energy. He says this guy knows a lot of team history too. Yep, I can go back and talk about like the old Mavs days too, like in the 2000s, like Nowitzki. Like you guys had a great playoff run. Was it from like 2001 to 2012 or 13-ish? That was when you guys really started to like taking off. Like the 90s years was kind of like disappointing.
2011, really? Wasn't that it, bro?
No. He's saying like a runner, like being like that.
Oh, just being in the playoff. Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as like being competitive, and from 2003 to like 2011, we were like teams where possibly won a championship. We were good enough. One of the better teams in the NBA, I feel like.
And you know what, Wilson's funny you said that too.
About
Houston history. I was telling King and them, like we always had. I've been a Mavs fan my whole life, right?
Yeah.
We always talk about we had one franchise center with Tyson Chandler.
Yeah.
The center before Tyson Chandler, who was considered a franchise center. Do you remember James Donaldson?
Yeah, I do remember him. 1988 All-Star, one of the worst All-Stars all time ever selected.
Did I say it, King? Didn't I say this? I said, bro, it's funny. From the 80s to the 2000s, 2010s, that huge gap, we did not have a franchise center. Nobody close to being a franchise center, bro, for our franchise. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you would think like Mark Cuban probably the smartest guy in the room. He's like, yo, we had this center. I'm not saying like I tell folks, I'm not saying we got a center, we're gonna win a championship automatically. But look at the effect of having a center on your team, man. Look what it done for your franchise.
Yep.
Like if you got a big, like you said, Yakapuro or somebody, right? Look what that would have done to your defense. It would have helped your perimeter guys play better defense.
You'd be
It
in
would
the
have helped the
playoffs.
overall. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just like I never understood that, man. It's like instead of you going to get a big, you go and get Justin Holiday. You know what I mean? It's just like you getting killed on the
And we
board.
had-
You getting guys letting guys just walk on you to the paint. It's like, bro, get a big in the middle, man, to clog that thing up, man. Let's get some rebounds and finish plays.
And they had time, Wilson. They got Kyrie with time left over with the trade deadline, and they still didn't go get a big.
Yeah.
They went and got Justin Holiday.
Like Kyrie's move should have been a move for other things and figuring other parts, building around two great scorers.
That's what
Okay,
we
let's
thought.
that can get rebounds, and they did absolutely nothing. Like that was
Nope.
it. Like
we said that too, Wilson. Like, 'cause we heard not rumors. We were hearing reports from like a Mark Stein, what's the boy name? Tim McMahon, like guys like that who are tied in heavily with the Mavericks. We're hearing those guys saying, "Oh, Dallas is not done. They did this move early to have time to go and look for what, like you said, other things that they need to add to the team or whatever." So you had like 3 days or 4 days or however long it was to make another move to get some big guys in here or whatever. They didn't do that. So then after the trade deadline, you go to the buyout market. We're thinking, okay, you go get like a DeMarcus Cousins or somebody, right?
yeah,
No, you go get Justin Holiday, a guy who didn't even play for Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? So
it's like you wash your laundry, but you didn't dry your laundry.
yeah.
Yep. That's an awesome analogy. Ben says, how are the Wizards this bad with 3 max players? That's for you, Wilson.
Ooh.
Bradley Beal is not a supermax guy. He's been highly disappointing, especially a guy who's been in the league for pretty much a decade and never got past the second round. And they're paying him as much as how Denver gets paid with Nikola Jokic. Is Bradley Beal really that guy? Not even close. He's not really good on defense. He's a hit or miss type of scorer guy. He is who he is at this point. And to pay him all that money and just sabotaging the team's like cap space, just not good enough. Kyle Kuzma's also a hit and miss guy too, and a lot of times Kuzma plays just as good, if not better, than Bradley Beal, and he's not making anywhere close as that. And the Wizards organization, they've been super dysfunctional. They've been probably one of the worst.
Young got fired,
and they just been awful on all levels. And all these guys, I feel like the Wizards organization is cursed, from the Gilbert Arenas to getting injured to John Wall, and that was pretty disastrous as well. They're always going to be mediocre, and they gave a lot of money to guys like Otto Porter too. I can go on and on with all that history with the Washington Wizards, but that franchise has been so bad. They haven't won 50 games in the season since 1979, and I don't see them winning 50 games for probably at least the next 5 years. So they're suffering.
Sounds like you said Wes Unseld.
Wes Unseld, man.
And Elvin Hayes, those guys, 78 championship. That was their only championship, and they were lucky to get that championship too, because the NBA back then wasn't as strong. But ever since that, the franchise, they've been super irrelevant. Like, they didn't do anything in the 80s. They had some good moments with the Bullets and C. Webb. Even a 39-year-old Michael Jordan, if he didn't get hurt and he had a couple guys around him, or they drafted Pau Gasol or rookie Gasol with the number 1 pick with MJ, they could have made a run in the East.
Yep.
That was their chance.
Wes Unseld, Wilson, is he the worst MVP ever?
I would say so. I would definitely say so.
Wait, did you have a number 1 on your list?
I did believe I have him number 1 on my list. He won it as a rookie, averaging 18 rebounds a game and 14 points and whatnot. But that was a weird year because Will Chamberlain traded to the Lakers and whatnot. I believe second place was Billy Cunningham for the Sixers. So, and that was Bill Russell's last season. So the NBA, it was kind of a weird year for having MVP.
Yeah, the Wizards GM just got fired to kind of piggyback on.
Yeah,
he just got fired.
And Willis Reed should have won MVP the year over Wes Unseld too, because in the playoffs, in 1970 playoffs, Willis Reed kind of destroyed him.
Yep. Sounds like
Moses Malone on Kareem.
Well, it sounds like Hakeem Olajuwon on David Robinson.
Yep.
Frank says, I think there's maybe a chance Vanderbilt is available because Rui been balling. Maybe. I did Vanderbilt.
He's a good regular season guy. He's got to help the team when they slack off. And have that energy and guard the other team's like best players, do all the dirty work. He's never gonna be a great shooter, but he's gonna help teams win a lot of regular season games, which is why the Lakers, they've been winning a lot since the All-Star break, because Vanderbilt, what he did to like your Mavs, like he was the X factor of that game and helping the Lakers climb all the way back. And Dallas just didn't have any answers. I think he could get a solid deal.
We just need him to play that Sean Marion to a Sean Marion role.
Yep.
This is wild. Imagine getting Vanderbilt, Beasley, Hachimura, and Mo Bamba for Westbrook's awful contract, 1 first rounder, and a bag of Doritos. And
what kind of Doritos, man?
And he forgot D'Lo was in that deal as well. Jeez. How did the Lakers get out of that? Rob Pelinka.
Yeah, Rob's been great. Rob Pelinka tries to like get all the good players, but a lot of toxic LeBron fans likes to bash Pelinka because like not the right fit and whatnot. But Pelinka's been putting a lot of work in this past couple off seasons too. Like remember when they signed like Marc Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, the rich get richer, Dennis Schroeder. Everyone thought that team was gonna dominate, but a couple guys got hurt, and then like Pelinka signed Andre Drummond. Like, Andre Drummond, he's going to turn the Lakers season around, but ended up not at all.
And I'd still take all those guys.
Yeah.
Pelinka's working. And
go ahead, Wilson. I'm sorry.
Drummond would have been vital for Dallas. He would have been averaging 12 boards a game.
Yeah. So I'd still take all those guys you just named over Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber.
You know what's funny too, King? You see the way they flipped their roster around, and now they play in the playoffs.
Yep.
That's what I want to do this year. That's what I want to do this offseason. I want to flip this roster, bro. I want to flip it.
The way the season ended, and all truthfully, like Rob Pelinka should get some love for GM of the year.
Or maybe like all other teams fans got to be more vocal, just like how Laker fans, they're never satisfied with anything, so they just complain.
Oh man, Wilson, listen, you got to go. You got to go to. You got to go to Mad Twitter, man. We had a guy on our show, man. We call him Fire Mark Cuban. Chris, shout out to Chris, man. He had a movement. It was at first it was Fire Mark Cuban, now it's Fire Jason Kidd. He had T-shirts and everything, man. He had a movement. We had a guy down here in downtown Dallas who made a mural, a huge mural on the wall. I think it was on ESPN and everything. Talking about getting Luka some help and all that.
And Cuban got upset at that.
We need to get him on the show.
Yeah, he got upset. Yeah,
we need to get him on the show, bro. The mural guy.
Yeah, probably.
As far as, see if he can talk about it, see how he feels now that the season is over.
And Cuban's got to worry more about the team instead of promoting. I know he's been trying to do his like NFT stuff and his cryptocurrency stuff and whatnot and promoting Voyager. Like Cuban's been taking a lot of massive L's in a lot of these scams too. He's outspoken a lot of things, but he's been absolutely wrong about his team's decisions and his crypto investment stuff. Like he's trying to get fan engagement. I heard about like with the team and get everyone invested for his own like personal experiments with his other rich guys too, helping them make money. So I also don't like that.
Man, listen, I've always said this too. That's fine, Wilson. You step to the side and you can do all that stuff you want. Yep. Like we said, you can do whatever you want over there. Yep. Leave the basketball stuff for the basketball guys.
Yep.
Like you just said, you're doing too much. You know what I'm saying? You got your hands in too much stuff right now. If you want to do the crypto and all that, focus on that. Just step to the side. You can do that all you want. Shark Tank, all that. You can do every episode of Shark Tank. We don't care. Let the basketball guys do their job, bro. And you just step to the side, man. But we got Mark Cuban as an owner. He don't want to do that. He's been listening to Jerry Jones since he stepped foot in Dallas.
Frank said, plus Hardy said he was going to train with Kyrie this summer. Yeah, I touched on that a little bit, Frank. Richard says, Reggie for Denny all day. He's on that Denny train. And he says, Nicola is at Jurisic and Darren Holmes in the second round this year is who he wants. Yikes.
Yeah, we don't even have a second round pick, though, this year.
Nah, we don't have one. We won't have first round
unless you trade somebody like a Reggie Bullock or something for a second round and move back in.
This is for you, Wilson. Would you re-sign Kyrie or sign and trade him?
I think I'd probably resign him to a 3-year deal and then try to get other like big men that can rebound and play defense, because I do believe that Luka Doncic does like Kyrie Irving and like to have another star and ball handler with him. Is going to make him satisfied, but all the other guys, there's going to be a lot of like moving pieces around, and Dallas got to fill in the puzzle with signing other big guys. Jakob Poeltl's available, but how much do they want to pay him and whatnot is going to be up to them. And I believe Vucevic is a free agent, but he's kind of like at the latter stages of his career. and you don't want to overpay for a guy like him too.
What you think about a Nas Reed?
He's a pretty good one, good energy guy, and he's good on the pick and roll finishes, providing a lot of spark. But he's also not that tall. I believe he's only like
6'9".
6'8".
Yeah,
So
6'9", yeah.
you need like taller guys that can really like crash the glass and like put like their arms up and just be a threat out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That's the one thing I said I worry about is his height. Ben also says anyone in this chat or on the panel would average more rebounds than Powell. Shots. You got to hit that, bro.
Yeah,
Andre
got you.
Drummond can average more rebounds just by missing shots in one possession than Powell this whole season.
You know what, y'all? If you think or you know you can average more rebounds than Dwight Powell, hit that like button. Hit that
Yeah.
like button for us,
Hit
y'all.
that like
Please.
button, y'all.
If you can average more rebounds than Dwight Powell. Let's see.
Jesus, man.
Frank said, man, if I had an ESPN job, something with sports that all I had to do was talk, I rent a movie theater and have multiple screens watching games all day. Yeah, I'd love that,
And that's
Frank.
all they have to do, Frank. That's the crazy part about it. You get paid to watch a game and give your assessment of the game, man. They can't even do that. They're
Yeah,
too lazy to do that.
Good one for Wilson. He says, do you guys think we should bring back hand checking? Are the rules being pushed too far towards offense? I think so, Wilson, before you go. And I do think they should bring back hand checking.
I think they should bring back hand checking too, because then you got a lot of like crappy teams that are resting their players, scoring like 140 points, like San Antonio resting their guys. There's gonna be someone that score, and I hate when people say like, "Oh, today's NBA's, oh, the offenses are unstoppable. No one can stop them." Well, watch the playoffs. How come like the Knicks or some other team was held to 80 points in the postseason? Because playoff basketball and defense still exists. But then if you can't like really touch a guy and they could just like shoot and get all their numbers and whatnot, it's kind of boring in a way. It's just like a pickup game, more exhibition. Every possession used to mean a lot in the 2000s, where a guy was looking for a bucket. Right now, guys can score so easy, and like possessions are not as valuable. Back then, the guys, it was more intense plays, and you had to really earn your points. So I do think that stats are way more flawed today and whatnot. And you want guys to be able to compete and play defense and kind of work, not just play an exhibition game, shooting threes and whatnot. And it's also fun to see a lot of players that are not accustomed to having good defense playing them, struggling and complaining to the refs for call, like, oh, he's touching me, he's doing this. Figure it out and go through it.
Touching me, huh?
If you want to think that you're one of the best and you're better than guys in the past, then try to bring it and stop complaining. It just makes the game much more better. Like playing guys being able to play defense their hardest and whatnot, and earning every basket, not just giving random guys layups. There's a lot of NBA players today. Like you watch the last day of the regular season, like random no names, they score like 20-something points. Like who's this guy? Who's that guy?
Yeah, the dude from Spurs on this.
Like who's like second round pick? Oh, when did this guy play in the league? Oh, he scored 22. Oh,
you say Cody Zeller?
It's pretty bad. Like there's probably some like D3 players, you play them in the NBA just shooting threes, they could probably score like 15 points, just open shots. And if it's that easy to score in the best basketball league in the world, there's an issue there, in my opinion. It should not be easy for just a lot of average players.
I believe
y'all don't like the 140s to 130 scores. What?
Nah. It's weak.
I think Adam Silver changed it eventually, though.
Yeah, it comes in ebbs and flows, man. I think he will. I think he'll change some things. Yeah.
Remember the Avery Johnson days for Dallas, where it was slow offense? They were last in pace and whatnot. They played really good defense, and it was Nowitzki and Josh Howard, Jason Terry hitting big shots. Those Dallas San Antonio wars, when the game was like 87-85, they were well earned, and that was high level basketball at the extremes.
Love it.
We've had both sides, Wilson. We've had that series, and then we have series against like Sacramento in the past where we were putting up like 136 to 135.
Yes,
layup lines.
The Rick LaFrance was getting his buckets. Nick Van Exel and
I need that Nick Van Exel jersey.
Yeah, I would get it.
I need that Nick Van Exel jersey. I just thought about that. He said it. Johnny B said, y'all still trusting Nico? We told you, Johnny B, he has until this offseason.
Yep.
This is the offseason.
This offseason, Johnny. You know how we are.
We on it. Everybody.
If the 03 Mavs was playing the 03 Kings in today's NBA with the amount of threes, the scores would probably be close to 200.
Yeah. So both of them teams with high offensive power on their team, man. A lot of it.
Oh man, Sacramento Kings, they should have won a championship.
Yeah.
Johnny B says getting Draymond and his team will be a disaster. He's really not that good, but it's camouflaged by Steph Clay's shooting. Without those guys, he'd be working at Burger King. I don't know.
Man,
I think it's a
that.
part of the system, but I think he's more important than you giving him credit for, Johnny B. They always struggle whenever he doesn't play.
Yeah.
He's more important on the defensive side, Johnny.
Yeah, and offense. He's the point guard.
He's a point guard. You're right. It helps Steph and Clayton play off the ball more. On top of that too, man. Look what happened last year when Draymond got hurt.
Yep.
Look how their defense fell.
Right.
I mean, it was still top 10 or whatever, but they were like number 1 in the league for the longest when Draymond was healthy. But then all of a sudden they fell off when he got hurt.
He was DPOY last year until he got hurt. He would have been DPOY.
You're right.
Let's see. Lai says, you remember the game when Maxey and Dwight had a combined 3 rebounds together with 20 and 30 minutes each? Yeah, man. I mean, that's almost every game.
Why are you bringing that up, man?
Lies also says he believes we lost a total of 22 clutch games, and that's crazy.
I think we had the most lost clutch games this year. I think.
Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell, their rebounding was just as bad as Roy Hibbert after he went to that malfunction in 2014 against the Hawks series.
You know what, Wilson? I will still take Roy Hibbert over than both of them right now.
Yep. And that's a big part of our issue too, Wilson. We can't stop possessions. So even though it looks like our defense is horrible, it's a lot of the times we just give up offensive rebounds over and over again, and guys just get a second chance, third or fourth chance to score on us.
Dudes would get like 4 or 5 offensive rebounds on us, man.
Yep, in one possession.
Russ Westbrook would get all those offensive rebounds too.
Frank says, damn, really, they haven't won 50 games? I thought they would have at least won 50 win season in the John Wall era.
Now, they won 49 games in 2017. That was when they got to the second round. And I didn't like when John Wall was talking trash, like, oh, we wanted LeBron and Kyrie, but they couldn't get past Isaiah Thomas, so they should stop talking.
Oh, yeah, that was the year they played ball. Yeah, you're right.
He couldn't get past Isaiah Thomas, but he thought he can get past Kyrie and LeBron. That's foolish.
Yeah, they wanted them, but like they didn't take care of business. And the Wizards were a more talented team, but couldn't beat Isaiah Thomas. And John Wall wasn't that good in Game 7.
Let's see. Johnny B says, shouldn't B get suspended?
I don't think he will. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have Draymond's history and whatnot, and I just don't think he will. I think Draymond got suspended because he was also talking trash to the fans, and who knows what was said there. But he was trying to like hype the fans up and going back and forth, and I didn't think Adam Silver liked that. If Draymond would have been like apologizing to Sabonis and reacted like, "Oh, you okay, man? You good?" I think he wouldn't have gotten suspended, but he went extra and just kept yapping. So the league wanted to punish him.
I agree.
Isn't it hilarious that Joe Dumars in charge of the suspension when he played with the dirtiest team all time? That's like,
I didn't even know Joe. I didn't even know he was part of the NBA front office.
Yeah,
he took it from. Did he take it from Kiki?
I believe
Kiki Benaway was there, right?
At first, right, and then he took it from Kiki.
Yeah, and Dumars played with the bad boys. He knows everything about roughing and.
Hey, I mean,
probably why he the one who did it. No, I know about that one.
The president or the former president. I think he is. The Players Commission is now the president. Now is it Malcolm Brogdon now?
Yeah, I believe so.
The former one was Chris Paul, though, and he's one of the dirtiest players in the league.
I thought it was CJ.
Is it CJ McCollum now? It's one of those two. It might be CJ McCollum.
Yeah, CJ.
Or even Malcolm Brogdon, one of the two.
Yeah.
But it was CP3 before, and he was one of the dirtiest players in the league. You had him out there vouching for guys, and he's out there trying to hurt guys. You had in your video the mistake about him fouling Giannis on the play at the rim in the finals, and he did it on purpose.
Yeah,
he was trying to hurt Giannis. He tried to push him in the air.
So guys being so small like that, like they have to get away with all their little dirty tactics, like throwing an elbow, but not really trying to like react. Just those little cheap shots, just one by one, like kind of depths by a thousand cut. Let them feel a little bit, but because they're smaller, they could kind of get away with that, and they need to get dirty. They're just not as big as these other guys. If a guy like LeBron was doing those things, like you would feel it.
I'm surprised that Rondo and Brandon Ingram thing ain't happened more than that one time, knowing CP3's reputation. But Frank also says you think NBA should copy some rules from EuroLeague. I think in Euro, refs can be suspended as well, depending on the mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's absolutely fair. The NBA does a good job like protecting the ref and the identity and whatnot and not talk about them. And and a lot of their personal information should never get like leaked out because there could be some refs that make bad calls and then people on Twitter might
Yeah.
be threatening them. I feel like the league does a really good job at that and keep it as it is. But it's tough to be a referee too on both sides. It's hard to understand.
We
But
say it
it's
all
a
the time.
tough job. It's a tough job for people to say that they could ref or they could do better. It's really tough, and you gotta really be well trained. They could be more well trained, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, it's like it's not perfect. Like just like how players have bad games, referees have bad games too. But it shouldn't be too bad to the extent that it's like a crazy call that makes no sense.
Yep.
But in the NBA Finals, you never hear too much about like the refs' complaints because they hire the best refs. Like
Yeah.
everyone is well rested for those types of games. They usually call it pretty good. Come conference finals time.
Other than 06 finals. But
Yeah.
that's about it, bro.
Yeah, that was controversial. That was devastating
Oh
too.
my goodness, man.
Man, we still
But
talk about that
we
to this
can't.
day.
I don't cry about it because, like I said, in that first round, I have a friend that's a Houston Rockets fan, but he was a Tracy McGrady fan.
Oh, yeah.
And he felt like we got.
I went to game 7 of that series.
Yeah,
Man.
they got screwed. They feel like by us in that series. So I can't.
Remember Van Gundy came out and said it too. He got fined for it. He brought it up.
I
That
believe
was
you
Tim
guys
Donahue as well.
won like 118 to like 78, if I'm
We
not
destroyed them
mistaken.
in game 7.
You guys
Yep,
won
I
by
was there.
40 in that game.
Yeah.
But then like there was a lot of like cheap fouls called on like Yao Ming and whatnot too.
Yep.
That was a good. That was very good. I can like think about how crazy and competitive the league was. McGrady and Yao versus Nowitzki in round 1. That's the second round matchup at the very least. To have that in the first round, that's ridiculous. And you guys also, if you guys were in the East from 01 to like 03, you probably make 3 straight finals because think about how good the West was. Sacramento, San Antonio, and LA. And the East were all cakewalks.
Oh, and Luka, I'm sorry, it's not Luka. And Dirk for his career dominated the East.
Yeah.
Dominated the East.
Mark Cuban underachieved. We said it all the time on this show, Wilson. Like he tries to use Dirk's championship as like a stepping stone or like a pedestal, like it's great. But Mavs fans really feel like Dirk should have more than one. Dirk should be the clear cut. We feel like Dirk should be the clear cut second best power forward in the league, and he'd be the best power forward if you really made Tim Duncan a center like he is. But because of that one championship, he's not. So we understand. We understand Kevin Garnett defense and all that, but we think Dirk's better than Kevin Garnett. That's just our opinion.
That's a fair opinion. It can go either way depending like what you argue and whatnot. But Cuban could have made Dirk the second best power forward in the league if he won like more championships, but that's just unfortunate. And just kudos to Dirk for staying put with Dallas. All those years he could have went elsewhere and taken his talents to a better team. But 2011, he had that willpower where he was already 32, turning 33 years old on his last prime legs, and to be able to elevate and just pull through and squeeze through like that. How kind of MJ did it in '98, running on fumes in the Last Dance. That's super impressive stuff, and that's like the ultimate like accomplishment for any superstar athlete to be able to fight through that and just win one championship just like that after all those lost years and lost times and lost opportunities. For Nowitzki to pull that off in the league direction where it was turning towards super teams is huge respect.
I'm gonna say this.
That's why he get a lot of respect too, man.
I'm gonna say this relevant, and I'm done on it. We can really, I guess, go to the end. But Dirk, as far as if you can imagine him, if he'd actually went and played instead of Pau Gasol with Kobe Bryant, when Kobe said he was recruiting him, and Dirk took the contract here with the Mavs and all, could you imagine if Dirk would have went and played with Kobe Bryant?
It just would have been an offensive clinic, rainbows, fadeaways from all angles.
That would have been nasty, bro.
Unstoppable.
And Kobe wouldn't have always had to be the guy in those moments. Like he would have had a guy he believes he could pass the ball to and go get a bucket.
And Kobe's also like willing to play defense too. A lot of people mistaking him for taking a lot of shots and whatnot, like offensively trying to do too much. But when Kobe actually had great players on his team, like a Shaquille O'Neal, he was a monster on defense. For Team USA in 2008, he was locking down everyone on defense too. And even in the All-Star games, he was playing elite defense because he had all those elite scorers. So Kobe's one of those guys that are willing to sacrifice a lot of things when he has other great players, great offensive players on his team, so he can do other stuff too. So that's what makes Kobe so great.
they would have played the 2-man game, and everybody else would have just had to play defense and shoot threes.
I think they had Andrew Bynum at that time too.
Yep, they just had a big guy behind them, and Andrew Bynum or whomever, and then had the three, the point guard, Derek Fisher, whatever it was, and just Dirk would have been comfortable with it.
Oh yeah.
Hey King, we're gonna read these last two out, then we're gonna call it a night.
All right,
that's
fine. Afternoon.
Yeah.
If y'all were Nico, who stays and who goes? I told you, Johnny.
I said Johnny. Everybody but Kyrie and Luka.
I think I want to keep the four guys. Kyrie, Luka, Josh Green, and Hardy. Yep.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And
here's the last one.
What position you consider Luka to be his natural position? If you say point guard, then how high you rank Luka? I mean, he's
like we said before, Frank. The only reason why Luka's played point guard,
because he was forced
is because he was pretty much he was the only person who can dribble the ball at the time when we made that trade for Porzingis. Because remember, he played off the ball his rookie year behind Dennis Smith. Dennis Smith was the point guard, so it ran through him.
If you go old school, whatever position you defend, right, is the position you play. He don't defend the point guard, so I mean, probably natural power forward at defending that. That's what I would put Luka at. That's what they tried to play him as when they first brought him into the league, but he's just more skillful than that.
He has a small forward type body with his size at 6'7" and around like 230-ish. That would be his normal position if this was like the 2000s, like kind of like the Hedo Turkoglu type role.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
But he can't at this day and age. I'm thinking though now, Wilson. Well, it's the bigger guys or the bigger small forwards are now starting to play power forward. But if they had like the Kevin Durant's and the Kawhis and the LeBrons, Luka couldn't defend them at all. Though if you're trying to have him go 1-on-1, that's why I was saying more of a power forward if you're going off of who he can defend.
Like those stretch forward guys who just like shoot and stand around.
Yep. Like even Turkoglu, when Turkoglu was playing kind of the four, that 4-5-ish or 4-3 as far as being that point forward back and forth with him and Rashard Lewis or whatever like that. But I think Luka will be better playing guys like that on defense. Well, at least for now. Who knows where he could be if he actually took conditioning and all seriously.
For now, yeah.
But yeah, man, that's gonna do it, guys. We definitely appreciate y'all, man, rocking with us as usual, guys, for another members only show. We definitely appreciate y'all, man. Like I said, we definitely do this for y'all, man, because we want to show our appreciation to y'all and y'all support of the channel in a special way. We'd like to thank Wilson for hopping on with us, man. Here's his information, guys. Follow him on YouTube and on Twitter, guys. YouTube at Wilson Sy, on Twitter at Wilson Sy 93, guys. Yes, please go follow him, man. I'm surprised a lot of y'all ain't following him. If y'all into y'all into NBA content, man, he's a great follow. Like I said, I know me and Keem been following him for years, man. Like I said, he's the first NBA YouTubers I followed on here, man. I tell people all the time, Wilson, I don't really watch ESPN and Fox Sports and stuff like that anymore. I get a lot of my NBA content from guys like you, and I follow individual channels like ours who follow individual teams. Like we follow, we work with a Knicks channel, we work with an Atlanta Hawks channel. So I listen to those guys to kind of get my information about those certain teams and stuff, or I listen to guys like you when I get the whole broad information of the NBA, man, because it's kind of hard to listen to ESPN and Fox Sports and all those guys nowadays, man, because it's just, like you said, there's a lot of clickbait and a lot of hot takes, you know what I'm saying? But, King, you got anything you want to say, man?
I appreciate you, Wilson. Like Rel basically stole the whole show. Said everything I wanted to say to you, but we definitely, man, I've been watching your content for a long time. Hollered at Rel and said that we should definitely have Wilson on the show, especially when you shouted us back out when we tweeted you. And we appreciate you, man. This is an awesome show. I know a lot of the Glow gang, the Glow Yard gang, if they didn't know you, they know you now. And like you can see, they know your knowledge, and we appreciate you. Always welcome back on the show.
Appreciate you guys too, Rel and King. It's an honor to be on your show and just talk basketball, NBA, and we should do this again sometime in the future.
Hey, we're gonna probably do a round table here, man. Pretty soon. Me and King got to kind of get a date and everything set up. We got other content. We got reporters and stuff like that, man. We talking about hopping on and stuff with us too, Mav reporters. You can definitely hop on, man, if you want to, man. We'll let you know when we get ready to set all that up, because I know schedules and stuff like that, man, kind of the hurdle that we got to kind of jump over. But yeah, you definitely always welcome, man. You part of the Glow Yard now, man. So we definitely appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, all that being said, guys, we still don't know when we're gonna be back officially, guys, but we will be back for you guys on Friday. Another Glow Yard membership show on next Friday. I don't know who we'll have on.
We have a show next. Do we have a show next Saturday, right? Was that next Saturday we have that show supposedly?
Oh, wait, that next Saturday? I think it's the first, ain't it?
That ain't next Saturday.
Oh, that next Saturday, bro. This ain't professional, King.
I think it is. I think it is next Saturday though, or something like that.
I forgot the.
I think it is.
Wait, is it the 5th?
Is it the 5th? I thought it was the 2nd. I don't know. We'll find out though. We're thinking of having someone from Pelicans.
Yeah, we're gonna be guesting on some on a Pelicans YouTube channel coming up here in a couple of weeks. I don't think it's next week, King. I think he said May. Sometime in May.
Next week is May, right? Next Saturday.
No, it's the 21st, so we got 28th next week.
Okay.
We got one more. Yeah, we got one more show here.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, we'll be back here on Friday, guys. Yeah, we'll let y'all know, man. Y'all can go hop over to his channel and catch us on there. I think he said sometime in May. We'll get all that squared away before then. But yeah, man, like I said, guys, I have if you didn't see that pop up, I got Wilson's information down below. I also had the video where he's talking about the Dallas Mavericks season, guys. So please go watch that. I had that link down below too. I have his Twitter and I have his YouTube information down below in the description box. So with all that being said, man, it is your boy Rel. Got my boy King. This is members only. Got a guest Wilson. We'll be back here next Friday, guys. Go Mavs.
And guys.
We out.